Hi, Toby here, and thank you for tuning in to video number 4. This is the last of our series of determining your meaning. The theme for this week is don't let people's response determine your meaning. I have a client that loves to use Facebook, but he determines his value and his meaning and his relevancy by how many likes he gets. So if he does a post and he doesn't get a whole bunch of people liking him, he gets really pissed off and cranky. And then if he does a post and he gets a whole bunch of accolades, then he loves it and he's like, wow, I'm so amazing. Okay, don't do that. Find meaning within yourself. If there's anything that we've talked about this month, it has been about being self-referencing, finding that sense of meaning in your core values, in the way that you do what you do, by upholding your ethics. But it is funny if we think about people who have become very famous. Oftentimes, anyway, I think, wow, they got the right breaks, they did the right things, everything went smooth for them. But I want to share a few stories that you might be able to relate to. Okay, now I'm a musician, as you know. Anybody that's been around me for any bit of time realizes that I'm all about music, and it's part of the therapy, it's part of the coaching that I do. I help to shift your energy. Remember my favorite Einstein quote, you cannot solve a problem with the same energy that it was created with. In order to shift the energy, I like to use music. It's very powerful, very quick, and very enjoyable. Anyway, enough of that. So my first example is going to be music. A band that did not allow people's response to determine their meaning. The band is called Led Zeppelin. Now, I'm dating myself. I was raised with Led Zeppelin, and I love them. I got to see them 4 times as a kid, starting early in junior high. But when they first came to Seattle in 1968, it was their first tour, first time in Seattle. They were opening for the Vanilla Fudge, which was an amazingly famous band, and I can hardly think of a song they wrote now. When Led Zeppelin was playing the opening set, the house lights stayed on so people could find their seats. People were having conversations and milling about and doing all kinds of stuff, completely ignoring the band. They played their entire set without one person responding to them. 2 years later, they came back to a packed out, full, sold-out house that from the moment the concert started, I was there, till it ended, people were screaming because they loved Led Zeppelin so much. If they would have let that first experience detour them based on the people's response, they would have never carried through to experience the great success. Okay, we see this with many people. Being from the Seattle area, of course, Bill Gates and Paul Allen, Microsoft. Okay, those guys were working on computer software forever. And they went through countless computer companies, designers, engineers, tried to sell their operating system, and were told over and over and over and over again that it was completely irrelevant, it wasn't a good system, and it would never work on a mass scale. You can't go anywhere in the world and not see Microsoft now. Not to mention Bill Gates was the richest man in the world for many, many years. Speaking of richest men in the world, Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon. You may not realize this, but Jeff had a company called Z Shops. He was going to create a shopping concept, and it failed miserably. But he didn't let people's response to that particular project affect his drive and affect his vision. He got more clear, he learned from it, went on to create Amazon, and has become, at this time, the richest man in the world. Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx. He was told by his college professor that FedEx was a good idea, but it was completely not feasible and would never work. Steven Spielberg, kicked out or was rejected by film school. He applied But he was rejected 3 times before he got into film school. Fashion designer Vera Wang, this is a great one. She was a figure skater. And she used to make wedding dresses on the side to help pay for her skating. When she didn't make the Olympic team, she quit skating and decided to go full on into fashion. So she applied at Vogue magazine, was rejected. Rather than letting their response determine her future, she carried on and is now one of the greatest fashion designers on the planet. Don't let people's response to anything determine your meaning. If their response is helpful and helps you become more clear and helps you become more focused, hey, right on. But don't ever let others determine your meaning. That's it for today. You have a great one. We're going to start a new theme next month. I hope you stay with it, and I look forward to making this year the best that it can possibly be, because you're going to stay focused and on track.